Revealed, the incredible transformation of a hidden billionaire. After one touching encounter, Jack Thompson wiped the grease from his hands on his old jeans, glancing at the small clock above his workbench. The smell of motor oil mixed with summer rain drifted through the open garage doors of Thompson's auto shop, a place where gears turned and engines roared but where the laughter of neighbors often filled the air more than any machine noise. Jack was a beloved fixture in their close-knit Midwestern town, respected for his hard work and steadfast dedication. At 38, he was a loving father and devoted husband, dreaming of a brighter future for his kids, holding on to hope like it was the last bolt in a tight engine. Just then, a sleek, luxury car pulled up, the kind that turned heads and sparked envy. Out stepped a woman in sunglasses and a big hat, but her drab attire didn't match the glimmering vehicle. She looked weary, almost as if the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. Little did Jack know, this stranger had a story of her own, a hidden billionaire named Lisa, tired of the hollow laughter and the soulless parties that filled her days. "Can you take a look?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper, as if the world around her was too loud. Jack felt drawn to her weary eyes, seeing not merely a customer but a fellow soul looking for connection. As he raised the hood, they shared an unexpected conversation over the rumbling engine. Jack opened up about fixing cars to make ends meet, pouring out his dreams for his children, while Lisa, surprised by her own vulnerability, spoke of her quest for authenticity amidst the glitter of wealth. Their genuine exchange filled the small garage with warmth, a moment that felt like both an unlikely friendship and a poignant revelation. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jack rushed home, the delicious aroma of his wife's cooking seemed to float through the air, promising a modest dinner filled with laughter and love. They gathered around the table, sharing stories and jokes, the heart of American values alive in their unity. But the idyllic moment crashed when a curious neighbor, overhearing Jack's earlier encounter, revealed Lisa's true identity. Suddenly, small-town warmth turned to icy distrust, accusations whispered behind clasped hands, branding Jack a traitor for befriending an outsider. Jack felt the sting of betrayal as he watched the townspeople who once admired him, now kneeling to judgments he never expected. He struggled to piece together the bonds he had carefully built, using memories of his father's wisdom. True wealth is found in character, not bank accounts. Gathering his courage, Jack attended a town meeting and raised a trembling hand. "What is our town without empathy?" he asked, his voice steady despite the anger that crackled in the air. The room fell silent, tension thickening with every heartbeat. Could his plea for understanding break through the walls of prejudice? As doubt lingered in the faces around him, a familiar voice called from the back. A hardened neighbor watched, eyes like steel, ready to resist, leaving Jack's dreams and newfound friendships hanging by a thread. Would one encounter truly transform the hearts of his community? The unanswered question loomed, leaving the air charged with unresolved emotions. Jack's heart raced as the quiet stretched in the town hall. He could feel the weight of every stare, the judgment in their eyes. He yearned for his words to reach their hearts, to make them see beyond the facade that wealth created. His stomach knotted, fear wrapping around him like a vice. But the voices that buzzed around him only pushed him to dig deeper. "What are you afraid of?" he continued, trying to inject hope into the room. "Fear of what you don't know. Fear of someone who, just like you and me, wants to feel understood." A scattered murmur traveled through the crowd. Jack knew right then he had given them something to think about. He caught sight of Molly, a widow who used to share apple pie recipes. She stared at him, her expression softening, conflicted emotions wrestling beneath her furrowed brow. But not everyone was willing to listen. "She's just a billionaire. What do we have in common with someone like her?" That voice came from Bob, a factory worker, resentment etched into every word. Familiarity washed over Jack. He recognized the pain hidden beneath Bob's anger. "Bob," Jack replied, his voice firm yet compassionate, "we all want to be seen for who we truly are. We've all faced battles of our own." The town hall remained charged with tension. Jack suddenly felt the urge to speak about his own struggles. He shared tales of sleepless nights, worrying about his bills, and countless hours spent doing what he loved most, repairing cars. The vulnerability echoed through those gathered. People nodded. He could feel the walls beginning to crumble. Lisa, sitting in the back, watched with wide eyes. Jack's words struck chords within her, igniting emotions long buried. She was used to being admired for her wealth, not for her choices or dreams. This room full of people silently pleading for understanding reflected a longing she shared too. Would they ever believe she was more than her bank account? After that meeting, word spread like wildfire. Some residents rallied behind Jack, while others remained hostile. The town felt divided, tense like a tightrope. Jack and Lisa found themselves caught in the middle, strangers navigating a landscape of judgment and newfound hope. While Jack worked long hours at the auto shop, he held on to the vision of a united community. He decided to put his money where his mouth was and arranged a neighborhood barbecue in the park, determined to create a space for togetherness and laughter. The day of the barbecue arrived, bright and warm, filled with sunshine and delicious scents wafting through the air. Families from all across the neighborhood gathered, setting aside their differences, if only for a moment. Kids chased each other while adults mingled, plates piled high with burgers and corn on the cob, but as Jack looked across the gathering, he spotted Lisa standing off to the side, uncertainty clouding her face. He felt a tug in his chest, realizing she was alone in this unfamiliar world. Boldness rushed through him, and he approached her. "Join us," he said, his smile genuine. "You might find some new friends here." For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and in that shared glance, an unspoken understanding formed. But just then, a voice boomed over the crowd, cutting through the laughter and chatter. "I told you we should keep the rich away from our community." Jack's heart sank as all heads turned toward the source of the outburst, the playful atmosphere quickly shifting into tension once again. Would his attempts to bridge the gap crumble before they even began? Jack felt the ground beneath him shake, and as he bravely stepped into the storm, uncertainty loomed. But could one friendly invitation spark a movement that might finally change hearts and minds? Jack's heart pounded in his chest as he shifted his weight, scanning the crowd for reactions. The laughter was replaced by whispers, wide eyes, and angry faces. Fear gripped him again, but he pushed through it. "Look," he started, his voice stronger than he felt. "We can't judge someone before we understand the whole story." His words hung in the air. Some people whispered to each other, while others crossed their arms defensively. Jack could see Bob, still simmering with disdain, standing at the edge of the crowd. The unity he hoped for felt as fragile as a soap bubble waiting to burst. "Let us try to remember how we feel when we're treated as less than we are," Jack continued, directing his gaze toward Bob. "All of us have stories. Lisa's story is just as valid as ours." To his surprise, the murmurs turned to hesitance, like a crowd uncertain about whether to boo or cheer. Then, one voice broke through the tension. "She has it easier than us. Why should we give her a chance?" It was Susan, the school librarian, usually gentle but clearly fiery today. Jack tightened his grip on his plate, feeling the urge to bolt but refusing to back down. "Susan, have you talked to her? Do you know her journey?" For a moment, Susan looked down, guilt flickering in her gaze. Jack realized the walls were not completely impenetrable. He could feel an invisible cord of connection, frayed but still holding. Lisa shifted uncomfortably. The heat of the crowd felt unbearable, and she was just trying to find her place. Yet, she couldn't ignore the truth in Jack's words. What if she stepped up herself and shared her story? She took a deep breath, her chest rising with the weight of unspent words. "All right," she said, hesitant but determined. She took a step forward. "I get it. I know my experiences are different. But wealth doesn't erase loneliness. It doesn't mean my struggles are any less real. A few surprised faces turned toward her. Jack felt hope refill his lungs. Could her honesty shatter the tension? My family has been through hardships, just like all of you, she continued. And sometimes, I'm just as lost in this world. Bob clenched his jaw, caught between his anger and the rawness radiating from Lisa. Jack sensed that change was teetering on the edge. One old man, known for keeping to himself, raised his drink and called out, "We all face battles, don't we?" The unexpected support sparked nods from others. Exactly. Jack exclaimed, adrenaline racing through him. Every one of us is more than our bank accounts or job titles. We are human, with dreams, losses, and hopes. A small child ran up to Jack, spilling soda all over him. The laughter that erupted lightened the atmosphere. Even Bob cracked a reluctant smile. But just then, a loud voice interrupted, "Enough of this. Do you really think they'll change? Just look at her." The crowd fell quiet again as the emotional battleground surged back to life. Lisa recoiled, unsure if she should fight back or back down. Jack could feel the tension rising, thick and heavy, but something inside him wouldn't let it settle. The moment felt pivotal. Let them speak, let them share. He urged, opening his arms wide. We can only build a bridge if we start talking. With that declaration, Jack found himself at a crossroads. What would happen if they truly engaged? If they shared their stories, could healing finally begin? As eyes turned to him, he knew change was knocking at the door. Would he have the courage to open it? Would they be able to step forward, together, into the unknown? A wave of tension washed over him as hope clashed with doubt. The silence was palpable, each person waiting to see what would unfold next. Jack felt the weight of every gaze on him, palpable anticipation prickling his skin. Lisa stood beside him, her posture tense but her eyes searching the crowd for support. Suddenly, a younger voice piped up. I think we should listen to her. It was Danny, the quiet boy who often faded into the background. Jack's heart quickened. He was surprised that Danny had found his voice today. Just because she's different doesn't mean she's bad, he added, glancing shyly at Lisa. A ripple of murmurs followed, this time with a more open tone. Yeah, we all struggle, added Maria, a girl with an infectious laugh who usually brought positivity. What if we realized we're more alike than we think? Bob's jaw tightened, and he shot her a skeptical look. But before he could respond, Lisa stepped forward, encouraged by their sudden response. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Maria. I want to share something, even if I'm scared. Jack felt something shift in the air. As Lisa spoke, her voice grew steadier. When I was a little girl, I didn't have many friends. People saw what my family had, not who I was. I'd watch kids play and feel so lonely. Wealth didn't mean I was happy. I longed for the same friendships you all have. Tears glistened in her eyes, and Jack couldn't remember when he had felt so moved. He was struck by the vulnerability she wore like armor, brave and unbroken. The crowd listened, caught in the gravity of her confession. I'm not asking for pity, but understanding, she continued. Yes, my life looks different. But my heart aches like anyone else's. Losing a parent changed me. It could happen to any of us, rich or poor. Her voice cracked, and Jack wished he could shield her from the pain of her memories. The crowd shifted, a sea of faces, now softened with empathy and connection. Jack felt the anger in Bob dimming, melting away like ice in the sun. Maybe we're not as different as we think, he conceded, his voice quieter this time. Exactly. Jack exclaimed, encouraged by Bob's unexpected shift. We're all wishing to be seen for who we are, not what we have or don't have. Each of us has felt fear, sadness, or love. With those words, the atmosphere in the park began to transform. People were nodding, sharing glances charged with realization. Even Bob stood a little taller, a hint of remorse softening his features. The old man called back again, what we're truly searching for is connection. We've got to lean on each other, not push away. But just as hope began to cloud the air, it shattered. A loud clap of thunder rumbled from above, startling everyone. Dark clouds quickly gathered, casting shadows over the crowd. A flash of lightning illuminated the park, and people began to murmur restlessly, their attention shifting from the moment to the impending storm. "See?" Bob growled, shaking his head. "Even the weather agrees with me. Can this end well?" Jack felt his heart drop. The storm threatening to engulf them felt like a metaphor for the tensions still unresolved, the stories still untold. He wanted to scream, to cry out that the hope they had just built was stronger than the thunder. Lisa stepped back, pain reflected in her eyes. Jack knew he had to act, and fast. With a deep breath, he shouted, "No matter what happens next, let us not let fear win. We've taken a step into understanding each other today." But even as he spoke, he felt doubt creeping in, wondering if they could truly break the barriers that divided them. Would they dare to battle through the storm, or would they be swept away by the raindrops of doubt? As the first drops began to fall, all eyes turned back to Jack, hope dangling like a thread. What would his next step be? How could he fight for their moment, even as the skies grew darker? The first drop hit Jack's cheek, cold and startling. He looked around, feeling the tension in the air, the unspoken fears creeping into hearts that had just begun to open. The crowd shifted nervously, some glancing at the sky while others focused on him. Jack could see the flicker of hope battling against uncertainty in their eyes. "Let us not run," he called out, his voice steady despite the torrent of rain that was threatening to descend upon them. "We can't let a little another drop, then another, splashed against the pavement. We can't let fear wash away what we've just started." Bob crossed his arms tightly over his chest, still skeptical but his brow furrowed with thought. "And what exactly is that? A moment of connection that can't withstand the storm?" He scoffed, but there was an edge of doubt in his voice, curious despite himself. "The truth," Jack replied, taking a step closer, his heart racing. "Understanding and acceptance. We just saw it happen." Lisa shared her story, and she opened up because she felt seen. "That's worth holding on to. The world doesn't end because it rains. It's how we respond that matters." With that, the thunder rolled again, a deep rumble that felt almost like a warning. But Jack refused to let fear overtake them. "What if we decided, right here and now, to be brave together?" He pressed. "To tackle the storm both outside and in our hearts." The crowd was hesitant but attentive. Jack could see Maria nodding encouragingly, her eyes bright with the promise of camaraderie. "I want to be brave," she chimed in, her voice cutting through the rising winds. "I want us all to be brave." "Yeah!" Danny shouted, finally breaking past his usual shyness. "Together, we can make this work." One by one, people began to voice their agreement. Little by little, there was a shift as they leaned into each other, finding strength even in the pouring rain. Jack felt it too, a shared determination swirling amid the droplets. They were building something powerful, even as the sky threatened to drown it out. Then, Lisa stepped forward again, her eyes glimmering with gratitude combined with fierce resolve. "It's okay to feel scared," she said, glancing around at her peers. "But let us show that fear that we are more than what we seem. We're stronger when we stand united." As she spoke, the rain began to fall heavier, soaking the ground and turning the park into a glittering pool. Yet, instead of chaos, a strange beauty settled over them. Beads of water danced in the light, and laughter mixed with the sound of rain began to emerge, healing what had once seemed unbridgeable. Bob observed, his expression softening as he took a deep breath. "You know what? This is ridiculous," and yet he chuckled, shaking his head as if awakening from a daze. "Why not? I can't let the storm dampen my spirit." Jack exhaled, relief washing over him. Perhaps they really could make it through this together. The rain had become more than a backdrop, it was a cleansing force, washing away doubt and redefining their connections. Just then, the old man spoke once more, his voice rising above the storm. See how storms can bring out the best in us. It's not the weather that defines our hearts, but our responses to it. Will you choose unity in this tempest? But before anyone could answer, the rain suddenly escalated into a torrential downpour, drenching them all. Laughter erupted once more, unexpected and joyous. They were soaked, but they were together. In that very moment, amidst laughter and chaos, the world outside faded. And for Jack, one thought remained as a bright glimmer amid the gray: if they can stand strong in the storm, what other challenges can they face with this newfound strength? But as the lightning flashed again, something shifted in the crowd's mood, and Jack felt a deep unease creeping back. What did this really mean for them moving forward? What other storms lay ahead? The rain continued to pour, an unrelenting sheet that blurred the outlines of trees and laughter. Jack's heart raced as he scanned the crowd, the collective energy shifting from uncertainty to something palpable. Yet, beneath the surface, uneasiness began to stir once more. He couldn't shake the feeling that the storm outside mirrored deeper challenges within them. As the droplets plopped rhythmically on the ground, Maria stepped forward again, her laughter mingling with the rain in a way that seemed almost magical. This is crazy. She beamed, eyes sparkling with joy. We're all soaking wet, but look at us. We're stronger than we think. Bob interjected, shaking his head but smiling nonetheless. What's next? A dance-off in the rain? Why not? Danny exclaimed, spontaneity bursting forth. With that, a wave of energy swept through them. The rain became a symbol, washing away their fears and inhibitions. One by one, they began to step out of their shells, dancing freely, moving to rhythms that only they could hear. Jack joined in, laughter escaping his lips as he twirled under the pouring rain, free from doubt. They were losing themselves to the moment, and it felt exhilarating. But then the thunder crashed again. This time, it came with a jolt, a stark reminder of nature's unpredictability. Jack's laughter faded, and for a moment, the group hesitated, exchanging nervous glances. Don't let it stop us. Jack called out, his voice fighting against the heavy rain. This storm doesn't define us. We're here, we're together. Let us show it what we're made of. And suddenly, it was as if the thunder itself became their rallying cry. With renewed determination, they began to belt out a carefree tune, one that mirrored the joyous rebellion against the storm. Their voices intertwined, creating a melody that echoed off the damp walls, turning the park into an arena of hope. But amid the revelry, Jack's thoughts anchored to the old man's words about storms bringing out the best in them. What do you really want? He whispered to himself. Was this unity just a fleeting moment, or a real awakening? Lisa noticed his distraction, wandering over with her smile dimmed slightly. You're still worried, she observed gently, rain dripping from her hair. I get it. But look around. We're not alone anymore. I know, Jack admitted, watching their magic unfold, but uncertain how long it could last. But what happens when the rain stops? Lisa didn't have an answer. Her brow furrowed slightly, considering the weight of his question. We'll figure it out together, she replied with conviction, but Jack could hear her own doubt hidden beneath her words. Just then, the roar of the storm seemed to magnify, and the world warped into a blur of torrential rain and fading light. Suddenly, a flash of lightning struck close by, bathing everything in an eerie white glow. A hushed silence fell over the group, a collective panic rising. What was that? Bob shouted over the now distant rumble, his face a mix of fright and adrenaline. Everyone, stay together. Jack called, pulling them closer, a surge of protective instinct kicking in. We're in this together. But as lightning flickered again, illuminating the concern on each face, Jack couldn't shake the gnawing fear that this was just the beginning. The calm waters of friendship and laughter were stirring, waves of challenge gathering just beyond what they could see. What other storms would they face, both outside and within, and would their newfound strength hold when the sun finally returned? As the rain drummed down harder, Jack's heart raced with uncertainty. They had found joy in the storm, but would they find the same light when it passed? The air crackled with tension as another clap of thunder rumbled overhead. It echoed in the silence left by the lightning, amplifying Jack's fear that surged through him. He looked at Maria, who was trying to keep everyone's spirits high, twirling her wet hair and laughing, but even she was starting to retreat into a shell. "Maybe we should find shelter," Lisa suggested, her voice strained. Jack could see the unease creeping back into her bright eyes. Jack felt a wave of protectiveness wash over him. "No. We can make it," he urged, clenching his fists. The spirit of the storm burned in him. "We have to stay together." Danny, always the enthusiastic one, jumped in. "We're not letting a little rain ruin the best night ever." "Who else with me?" Everyone hesitated, looking back over their shoulders as sheets of rain blurred their surroundings. Jack's heart raced. They could either retreat or keep fighting through this together. "Come on. Let us find a place to dance," Maria shouted, breaking the tension. She took Danny by the hand, and they began to sway, their movements bold and uninhibited. Gradually, the others began to follow suit, shaking off their fears. Jack couldn't help but grin as laughter erupted once more, the sound mixing with the harmony of falling rain and the distant rumbles of thunder. He grabbed Lisa's hand, urging her to join him. She hesitated, casting a glance at the swirling storm, but then she took a deep breath, her smile returning as she felt the warmth of connection. They danced, letting the rain batter their bodies, feeling each drop like a cool fire against their skin, energizing them. Jack's heart soared. This moment felt bigger than the storm. This was about resilience, unity, and defiance against whatever life threw at them. Yet, as he twirled Lisa in the downpour, he caught a glimpse of distant shadows beyond the trees, looming figures emerging through the mist. They were cloaked in darkness, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy of their own group. Jack's stomach twisted with a sudden jolt of fear. Who were they? Guys?" Bob's voice cut through the laughter with a note of concern. Jack turned to see Bob's eyes glanced fearful toward the silhouettes. "Stay together, stay strong," Jack said, trying to rally everyone, his voice rising against the thunder. "They can't take this from us." Just then, the figures stepped closer, emerging into the rain-soaked light. Jack's heart raced as he recognized faces. They were people from their past, old friends he had lost touch with, some still bearing wounds of old disputes. This storm had altered more than just the weather, it had drawn them all together, but would they be ready for this confrontation? "What do we do?" Lisa's voice trembled slightly, her earlier confidence circling the drain. It was then that Jack realized. The storm was not just about the rain above, but the unresolved emotions still brewing among them. They fought for one another, but could they also face their history together? Deep down, Jack knew the answer lay in them simply being together. "Let us talk," he finally said, clenching his jaw. "We've come this far. We can face any storm, right?" The rain washed away the facade of their past illnesses. Eyes locked, breath steady, they stood united against both the storm and the ghosts it brought with it. Would they find the courage to confront what lay ahead? Would the laughter that filled the air be enough to drown out the fears that threatened to surface? As the weight of their shared burdens hung heavy in the air, Jack stepped forward, ready to bridge the gaps. Would their bond hold strong amidst the brewing turmoil, or would they weather more than just one storm? Jack took a deep breath, each inhale a mix of anticipation and dread. The figures from the past loomed larger now, their expressions unreadable as the rain dripped off their faces. He felt a tightening in his chest. These were people he thought he would never see again. Old arguments and hurt feelings flooded back, drowning out the rhythm of the storm. "Hey, it's been a while," Danny shouted, forcing a smile. His optimism rang out like a beacon, trying to pull everyone back from the edge of uncertainty, but the shadows from their past didn't respond with laughter or warmth. Instead, they stood still, soaked and silent, as if they were anchored in some other time, that not even the torrential rain could wash away. "Jack, what if this is a bad idea?" Lisa's voice trembled, her grip tightening around his hand. Her eyes searched his for reassurance that he looked at her, his heart pounding in his ears. "We can't let fear win, Lise. We've fought too hard for this moment. We can't go back to hiding." Maria stepped forward, her cheeks flushed beneath the rain. "We're all human. We've all made mistakes. But tonight, we have a chance to reconnect, to heal." The shadows shifted slightly, as if her words had reached something inside them. Jack could see the glimmer of recognition, the flicker of hope. Maybe they were just as lost and confused as he felt. "Why don't we just talk?" he called out, squaring his shoulders. His voice broke through the thunder, firm enough to peel back the layers of fear cloaking the space between them. "Why don't we let the rain wash away what has happened? Together?" One of the figures took a step forward. It was Sarah, an old friend from high school, her wet hair framing her face with a softness that made Jack's chest ache. "I can't believe it's you," her voice quivered, tears mixing with raindrops as they slid down her cheeks. "Yeah, it's me. And I've missed you," Jack replied, the words almost spilling out like a flood, unrestrained and vulnerable. "I've missed all of you." A silence fell as the two groups began to bridge the gulf forged by time and misunderstandings. Rain pounded against the ground, but the atmosphere felt lighter. Slowly, one by one, the others stepped forward, cautious yet hopeful. "Let us not waste this," Danny said, a determined spark in his eyes. "We don't have to walk this rain alone." The tension melted as they began to approach each other, overcoming the years that had tucked them into separate corners of their lives. Old wounds and grudges hovered like fog but seemed less daunting in the light of their renewed connection. Jack exchanged glances with Lisa, who smiled, encouragement radiating from her. "See? We're stronger together." But beneath the laughter and warm embraces, an underlying anxiety still pulsed. What deep-seated issues had yet to be acknowledged? What skeletons lurked beneath the surface, waiting for the right storm to unearth them? Just as their voices drowned out the thunder, new rumblings surged, tension, solidarity fused with the unknown. Jack's pulse quickened again as he sensed that the calm could only be temporary. "Let us go to that old diner," Sarah suggested, her eyes lighting up with the glint of nostalgia. "We can talk there under a roof, maybe." Everyone nodded, a wave of agreement washing over them as they started moving towards the edge of the woods. As they walked together into the dim ambience of the trees, concern lingered in the background. Would their shared history help them heal, or would more storms await? In that moment, Jack felt a part of him whispering to be cautious, but another part could only find solace in the warmth of connection. Could this night shift the tides of their past and guide them towards a renewed future? "How far have we really come?" he thought, gazing at each familiar face now bathed in raindrops and memories. As they neared the diner, a crack of lightning lit up the sky, illuminating their path forward. What revelations awaited behind those closed doors? The diner stood before them, a warm glow spilling from its windows, cutting through the lingering shadows of the rain-soaked night. As they approached, the smell of coffee and fried food wrapped around Jack like a comforting embrace. He could feel a mix of childhood nostalgia and nervous energy buzzing in the air, like the static before a storm of emotions. "Let us grab a booth in the back," Danny suggested, his eyes scanning the nearly empty diner. "More room to breathe, you know." They slipped into the booth, sliding in one by one, and Jack found himself sitting across from Sarah. Her gaze lingered on him, a mix of disbelief and yearning. It reminded him of all the times they shared laughter over milkshakes, unaware of the fissures that would later divide them. Jack took a deep breath. "How long has it been?" 5 years? "More like 10, Sarah countered, a slight smile breaking through her nervousness. "Can you believe it? We've been away so long, lost in our own worlds." The rest settled in, the atmosphere thick with unsaid words. As mugs of steaming coffee were placed on the table, the din of the diner crept in around them, replacing the storm's drumming with the subtle hum of chatter and clinking dishes. Lisa reached for Jack's hand, squeezing it instinctively, a gesture that warmed him amidst the uncertainty swirling among their friends. "What if we start by sharing what we've missed most?" she suggested gently. "Let us remind ourselves of the good." The suggestion hung in the air like ripe fruit waiting to be picked. Jack could see hope glimmer in Sarah's eyes, while the others nodded slowly, encouraging the conversation to flow. One after another, they shared stories: awkward first dates, summer vacations that felt endless, the triumphs and trials of adulthood. Each tale served as a thread, weaving them closer together, mending some of the tears that had formed in their friendship's fabric, but as the laughter bubbled up and memories poured forth, the specter of unresolved conflict began to creep into their gathering. Jack could feel the undercurrents, the way conversations stalled or sidestepped before reaching too deep. "I think we should talk about what broke us apart," Maria finally voiced, her tone more serious, cutting through the lightness like a knife. "We can't keep pretending we're all okay." A hush descended over the table. Jack's heart raced. Would they really dig into those buried grievances? Would this night ignite old wounds instead of healing them? "I'm in," Jack said, forcing the words past the tightness in his throat. "Let us not hide from it. We owe it to ourselves." Each pair of eyes glanced around the table, uncertain yet resolute. Sarah spoke next, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. "I'll start. I guess I've carried a lot of anger since our last fight." Jack could see the tension radiating from her, and as she owned her pain, an unspoken agreement broke the palpable silence. The room grew heavier with shared vulnerability, each person lifting their burden in turn. A revelation unfolded: pain intersected with growth, scars became symbols of survival rather than stains of defeat. With every admission, Jack felt these stories pulling them closer, transforming what had once stood as barriers into stepping stones toward understanding. He wanted to reach across the table, to take each of their hands and say, "Look how far we've come." But a sliver of fear still lingered in his chest. As they talked, a flicker of uncertainty danced in the depths of his mind. Were they prepared to hear the things they needed to say? Did they truly want to confront the demons lurking beneath their shared history? Just as the atmosphere shifted from catharsis to tension, the door swung open, a chill sweeping in from the storm outside. A newcomer stepped in, drenched and wide-eyed, shaking off the rain like a startled dog. Jack turned, his heart catching in his throat at the sight. "Who is this?" was all he could manage, the question barely a whisper. In that moment, with every heart in the diner suspended, Jack realized that the storm outside had just found its match inside. What surprise awaited from the stranger? Would their arrival help or hinder the healing process they were only beginning to grasp? The newcomer stepped closer, eyes glistening like raindrops caught in streetlights. It was Mark, an old friend from high school, one who silently slipped away after the fallout that strained their circle. Jack's heart raced, caught between disbelief and a rush of memories. "Mark?" he uttered slowly, disbelief making his voice tremble. "Is that really you?" Mark stood uneasily at the entrance, his drenched clothes clinging to him like the burdens of the past. "Yeah, it's me," he said, his voice hoarse but resolute. "I heard laughter from outside. It pulled me in." Jack exchanged glances with Lisa and the others, unsure if they should welcome this unexpected visitor with open arms or if resentment should rear its head again. However, a flicker of shared pain sparked among them all. Here was someone who understood the nostalgia of good times, yet also carried the weight of what was lost. "Come, sit with us," Maria called, lifting the somber air. Reluctantly, Mark took a seat beside Sarah, his brow furrowing with cautious hope. Jack took a deep breath. "We were just talking about, well, everything. The past, our mistakes." Mark nodded, his gaze softening. "It like that. I've missed you guys." As laughter bubbled back into the air, the tension in the diner shifted subtly. Every moment felt charged with possibility. Jack remembered how they once promised to always stick together, but storms had swept them apart. Now, as they gathered around that table, something new was emerging, a resolve to confront the past with a united front. "Mark, we never meant for things to end the way they did," Jack said, feeling the weight of the words. "We all hurt each other and ourselves." Mark's eyes flickered with recognition. "I didn't just cut you all off. I thought being alone was easier. But it wasn't. I realized I was running." Together, they began to peel back the layers of hurt, each story revealing something deeper: regret, longing, and an eagerness to heal. As memories flowed, so did understanding. They shared laughter and tears, the weight of years apart dissipating with each carefully crafted sentence. Jack leaned back, feeling warmth radiate from the group. "Are we finally ready to forgive each other?" he asked, glancing to Lisa, who had enveloped his hand in a gentle squeeze. "Can we start fresh?" "Forgiveness is easier when you're surrounded by the people you love," Lisa replied softly, her gaze sweeping over their friends. Her words sank in, a reminder of why they were gathered there in the first place: hope, love, and shared humanity. Together, Sarah agreed, eliciting murmurs of agreement around their booth. The camaraderie resonated, echoing beyond mere words. It whispered of a future together, rediscovered, but beneath the joy, pangs of fear lingered. What if this fragile connection wasn't enough to weather future storms? Could real trust be rebuilt after they had weathered so many tempests of pain and isolation? They lingered in the comforting glow of the diner, the rain pounding against the windows like a heartbeat, a reminder of their struggle. But Jack felt a surge of courage. No matter the storms ahead, let us promise to keep choosing each other. "I'll take that promise," Maria chimed, and the others nodded in agreement, weaving the threads of their intentions together. Suddenly, Mark raised his mug, the steam swirling like hopes taking flight. "To us. For getting lost and finding our way back, even in the dark." "To us." Echoed throughout the diner, the warmth spreading like wildfire. The laughter enveloped them, pushing aside fears, doubts, and shadows that had marred their past. As Jack surveyed the faces around him, shimmering with renewed hope, he knew they were turning the page, one filled with colors of friendship, understanding, and all the tender fight that life could throw their way. The storm outside began to lighten as they laughed, but somewhere deep inside, Jack felt vigilant. The rain would come again, but he prayed this time they would stand shoulder to shoulder. Whatever storms lay ahead, they would face them together, united as a family. Bound not just by friendship but by vulnerability and trust. As they stepped outside into the fading rain, hints of clarity shone through the clouds, a promise of a fresh start. Jack took a deep breath, knowing that real transformation didn't come from a single moment, but from the commitment and courage to step forward side by side. And as he looked at Lisa, then at Mark and the others, Jack realized they had already begun this journey. Their hearts, once heavy with storms of isolation, now beat in sync as they looked toward the horizon, ready for whatever came next. They were home. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this incredible transformation. You need to subscribe now to never miss an exclusive story that will inspire your heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the joy, and comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share this uplifting video with at least 5 friends who truly need to see the power of connection.